This episode, how to choose the right ladder. In this episode, the Handyman Pros have a discussion about choosing a ladder, some tips and tricks for picking the right ladder, and a couple of safety tips as well. Welcome to the Handyman Pros radio show. Home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros radio show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition's entitled, How to Choose the Right Ladder. To help me explain, I'm here with my ever-cheerful co-host and old buddy, John. John, have you been climbing on any ladders this week? I thought we didn't do heights.
No, but that's why I'm cheerful.
What's been happening this week, buddy?
Yeah, so I bring this up. I've had some questions about this, and they're good questions about ladders. Now, I'll tell you what I just did is I fixed my ladder. I bought the parts. I think I mentioned it maybe on another show.
You did.
Because on an extension ladder, it's got these little things called, they call them flippers. And it's a mechanism that kicks in so that the extension ladder collapses onto itself again. So after you extend it, so on and so forth. But I did get some questions about, what kind of ladder to buy, when, what should I get?
Right.
And now knowing that, we're not all, roofers and we're, one project and things like that, but I'm talking about more the practicality of being a homeowner and having a ladder around. If you're going to get one or two ladders, what are you going to get?
Right. And we decided to talk about this in our pre-show because we have this thing here. John and I always talk so we're walking down the aisle at one of the big box stores, and if you do this in the ladder aisle, dude, there's a lot of choices. This is like, holy smokes, what's the difference, right? It's kind of where we're at with this. It's why we decided to do this show. So
right. And like I said, and that's kind of the thing where I was going to go with this is to, if you're going to get a ladder or two ladders, as a homeowner, what would you get? So
I wouldn't. But anyway, that's beside the point.
Well, we're all going to have to get, we have to get a ladder, whether it's a small ladder or a big ladder. So if you're going to do anything around the house, you're going to have to get some height. I think one of the things to consider then is what am I doing with that ladder? What am I trying to accomplish? And I will tell you that a lot of the homes these days have different configurations inside the home, right?
Yes. Oh, very much so.
I go into some of these homes and the stairwells is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And
truly amazing. Actually,
and some of the lights and the fans that are on, 20-foot ceilings. It's just, it's like, wait a minute, how did the guy do that in the first place to get up there?
Isn't it amazing?
Of course, they had all the scaffolding in there, anyways. Right. But it's like, I'm like, whoa. So, it's what kind of job that you're, kind of project are you trying to accomplish? Are you just around the house doing, changing some light bulbs, maybe going to hang a new fan. You just need to get up to a 12-foot ceiling or a 10-foot ceiling or whatever. Is that kind of thing. Or are you on the outside, cleaning out gutters?
Right. Very much so. And there's a pretty big difference between inside and outside as far as particularly in height, obviously, in most cases. And so it is a really different kind of concept. So figure out what it is you want to do. And then the other thing, and John, you and I talk about this a lot, but we've talked about it on the show a bunch of times too, is how comfortable are you with heights? Do you actually need to be up on the roof? Are you comfortable with that or not? Now, when I was a young man, or younger than I am now, heights didn't bother me that much. And it's not the heights that bother me, it's the actual act of thinking about a fall. It's like, oh, geez.
Well, you start to think about different things as you get older.
This is a true statement. And so it's a combination.
We don't have rubber bones, like we used to, So it's a little different. And that's exactly right. And I'm not advocating anybody gets up on a roof or anything like that. Some of you folks out there, I know you're probably very comfortable doing it.
Right.
And it's you know it, but then it becomes the quality of the ladder and how high and you know all these other things that we can talk about here. Of if you're walking down that aisle, what do I get?
Yeah.
You know.
So let's go over what are the different kinds of ladders. Let's just start there. What are the different kinds of ladders?
Well, you know, the classic ladders that you're going to see are, you know, a step ladder. That's your classic little A-frame type of ladder that you know most of us have somewhere. You know, and it's they come in various sizes. Some of them are small. You know, there might be a 5 or 6 foot ladder to
or a
you know,
two-step ladder.
Or a two-step ladder.
Little two-step ladder.
Right. Yep. Or up to a huge, you know,
32 feet I've seen.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Some of these guys are like, I'm like, oh, no.
Not this cat. Nope.
But you know, it's you know, there's just some things, you know, you want to make sure it's fully open when you're working with it, and you know, there's different materials you know involved in any of these ladders, whether it's aluminum, wood, or fiberglass.
Yep.
So, you know, if you walk down the aisle, you'll see the little step ladders, you know, or the big step ladders,
big step ladders. Yeah.
You know, I've seen them from anywhere from what Larry, I see $29-$30 to, you know, the sky's the limit, $250.
Yeah, or more. A really big step ladder is really
great
expensive. They're $500 or $600, but that's for a big tall one. But on average in the big box store, yeah, you're right on the money. About $30 up to $250 or so.
Yeah, that's and like I said, you know, some of those things get pretty, they're pretty big. You know, and then you're looking at you know, some ladders that are, you know, I'll go back right now just before we continue, is that there's different ratings on these ladders.
Right.
So when you go to buy a ladder, you're going to see that there is a like a government safety.
Yeah.
And it's a weight rating.
Yep.
And you'll see that it's the classification of it on all ladders. So they go from, you know, 200 pounds to, you know, about 375 pounds. Now, you know, the quality's going to change, right, to hold more weight. So you need to make that determination of the quality of ladder. So, and then you've got, you know, like I said, you've got the wood, aluminum, and fiberglass.
Right.
And everybody knows that if you're going to work around electricity, probably not a good thing to use like an aluminum ladder.
I usually do aluminum ladders with. I make sure my head is wet and my hands are wet and my feet are wet. Yeah. Right, and I set the ladder in a pool of water. That always works for me.
Right, with a bucket of water next to it.
Folks, don't do this at home. This is professionals only.
But you know, these are the different considerations when you're going to go buy a ladder.
One other thing on that, John, I wanted to mention too, where are you going to store this ladder? Because your material choice can be based on what your storage area is. So, for example, not such a good idea to store a wooden ladder outside.
No.
Right? But you can store an aluminum or a fiberglass ladder outside. So just depending, you have to think, believe it or not, you got to think about these things. How do I know this? I did it once. I stored a wooden ladder outside, and the rest, as they say, is history. So, you know, right? So think about that, too. It's just a little something, but particularly extension ladders are big, so they, you know, if you don't have a good place inside to store it, think about it.
Well,
anyway.
That's a very good point, because I will tell you that let's talk about extension ladders. Now, extension ladders are the ladders that they look like they're two ladders put together.
Correct.
And most of them have a rope on it that, you know, with a pulley, and you pull down on the rope and this thing starts to open up and keep going and going and going, right? And that's where it's got these little locking mechanisms on there. And what I talked about earlier was the little flippers, so that when you pull it up a little bit and then release it quickly, it collapses upon itself.
Right.
But you brought up a great point, and that is, where are you going to store it? So, you know, in the garage. You
stored yours outside, didn't you?
I store mine. I stored mine outside, and I'm laughing because why I had to replace those flippers, they're plastic, and those squirrels ate it. They ate those little flippers off my ladder, so I could get it I could extend the ladder, but I couldn't get it back down without pulling the whole thing down and walking around on the grass with it, and it was a mess. But anyways, but that is a good point of where you're going to store it. Now, extension ladders, they come in all kinds of sizes.
All kinds of sizes, yeah.
And there's there's other things for them, like they look like those little bullhorns, for them, where there's stabilizers that you can put on there that kind of wrap around windows and things like that.
There's stabilizers into the ground as well.
And stabilizers in the ground. Yeah. I mean, now these things can get really expensive, and if you're going to go get an extension ladder, I'll say right now, get a good one.
Yes.
Don't scrimp on the cost.
No,
because you don't want to do that.
Yeah, and another little aside there, you can rent extension ladders as well. So if if you need one, don't necessarily think you have to buy one, and kind of think that one through. Again, they're hard to store. I have a 20-footer, and I got to tell you, it's an aluminum step ladder. It's a 20-footer, and I have a hard time. I mean, I keep it outside. I have to. I don't have a choice. I don't have any place that's 20 feet long to store it. So, think about those kinds of things. Again,
it is, and I've got it. I got some hooks underneath my deck that I store my 20-something foot ladder on.
That you hang it on,
yeah, and these things, they're anywhere from like $150 to depending upon how high they are.
Yeah.
How much do you want to spend? $500 plus.
Yep.
So, can you imagine, Larry? They have 60-foot extension ladders.
Not this cat, dude. I'm not going 60 feet up on a ladder. No way.
That'd be like, Larry, go up on the top there and, fix that chimney cap.
And what did I say about looking for a new job? Okay, thanks. Hey, have a nice day. But anyway, I
see some of these guys. Yeah, I see some of these guys on these ladders. Let alone guys. Probably a lot of folks out there. You probably are mountain climbers and stuff. I don't know how you do it. That's not me. But,
So I do want to make a comment. We have posted on our Facebook page, folks. That's at Handyman Pros on Facebook. We have posted some pictures of ladders, and these are like, John, how would we call them? Extreme examples of idiots? I mean, they have ladders up on ladders. They have ladders up on top of doors. I mean, I'm like, dude, are you out of your freaking mind?
Right.
But folks, that's at Handyman Pros on Facebook. And folks, if you come across those photos, please share them with us because we get a good laugh out of it. We get a good laugh out of a lot of that stuff.
That one photo.
Oh my God.
Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, that one photo of that guy up there with. Man, they must have had like 5 60-foot ladders strapped together. I'm like, no, man. That's a third world deal right there.
It's like crazy. Anyway, sorry.
But anyway, so we've talked about step ladders. We've talked about extension ladders. Now, for most of us as homeowners, and I find this, if I'm not going to do gutters and I'm not going to go up that high, is the multi-ladders.
Yes.
And I'm going to go back now, and these are the ladders that you can configure the legs on them.
Yes.
That you can make a step ladder out of them. You can make an extension ladder out of them, and then the legs change so that they actually you can use them in a stairwell.
Yeah.
If you don't have a multi-ladder and you're trying to replace a light bulb in a fixture in a stairwell. Good luck.
Well, that's called a pole with a grabber bar on it, but that's
not inside a fixture.
Oh, true. Yes.
So, I had a real problem, and I thought, well, I can do this, I can do that, and I can put some 2x6 here, and I can put the ladder over there with it. I mean, now you're talking about a Cirque du Soleil, and no, I'm not going to, go through, all that kind of stuff. But the multi-ladder,
pretty cool.
You can put it on stairs and climb up that way.
Yeah.
And they have their different sizes and different grades. We talked about the load rating earlier, so they're different. Now, the downside to them is that they're heavy.
They're heavy. They are heavy.
But,
these are the ladders that we use, by the way, folks. Both John and I have extension or multi-ladders, and I know in my case, I carry a multi-ladder because I can stand it up in my truck, and it gives me great versatility. So I have a 22-foot extension ladder if I need it. I have a 13-foot step ladder if I need it. I have a 5-foot step ladder if I need it. I can do the stairs. For what we do as handymen, it's kind of the ladder of choice. But I this year added in a 5-foot step ladder, John, and I did that largely because toting that booger around, that thing is heavy. I gotta tell you, it's heavy.
It's heavy. It's not only is it a little heavy, they're clumsy, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
I mean that's the biggest thing. So if you're trying to drag that thing through somebody's house, you have to be really, really careful. And so being clumsy takes a lot of, balancing act and stuff like that. But they, like you said, they're versatile. You can use them for all kinds of different things. And it really is my go-to ladder of choice.
Yeah. If you had to buy just one, if your budget, or it doesn't even matter your budget, but I mean, if you just want to buy one, if you don't own a ladder at all, it is the ladder to buy. I would say it's the first ladder to buy personally because of its versatility.
I agree. These things, when you see them, you'll see them in the big box stores, and they're used to. What I've noticed, Larry, over the last, I guess maybe 5 years or maybe a little longer, is that there wasn't a whole lot of these things before then.
Yeah, I was going to say they're relatively recent. Yeah, they're relatively recent.
And now they're really are on the scene here. Really arrived on the scene of all different sizes. And I saw some really nice little ones, that you can use for extension ladders and, all that kind of stuff. They're really cool, and they're little. So that means what?
Less weight.
You can store it.
Yeah, and store
You can store it. So for the average homeowner, it allows you to get into, and I'll go back to the thing that I said earlier about the stairwells. In these new homes, some of these stairwells are really tricky. And so if you're going to buy a ladder, some of these are really, this is the way to go.
Yes, I agree. If you're going to do a lot, if you're going to do just a lot like light bulb changes or something like that, get a small step ladder or like a step stool. They make the nice step stools that fold up that you can put that are like 3 or 4 steps. And that'll get you up to the light fixture to change light bulbs and do that stuff. Even painting. And I bought this. I literally this year. It was December actually of this year. I bought a little 5-foot step ladder. I had all intentions of going in and buying a 4-step fold up step stool. When I went into one of the big box stores, they had this little 5-foot, really nice little 5-foot ladder on sale, and it was less than $50. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy a regular step ladder because it fit the bill. And at the time, comparing prices to prices, that 4-foot step stool was the same money. And I was like, the ladder was a little bit better, so I was pleased enough to buy it. And it's nice and light, and it's so for most of my jobs were because I'm tall, so I can get to an 8-foot ceiling on a 5-foot ladder, no problem. But anyway, but multi-ladders definitely are. If you have to own only one, that's the one. Just make sure you eat your Wheaties. Boy, does that we date ourselves when we say that, Johnny? Just make sure you eat your Wheaties before you go to move it, because they are heavy. So, price range, John, what do we get? I think they're like 100. I think they're around $100. You say 140. I think they're less than that now. About $100 to $300 plus, depending on weight. And size.
Sky's it goes up there. It goes up there. But I wish I would have bought one a long time ago.
Well, they even just exist.
Before I did the handyman thing to myself, because I could never get to some of the parts on in my stairwell.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
I mean, if you don't have it, I'd be out trying to borrow one from a neighbor or something, just trying to get up there because, it's like, oh, I hate that fixture, but it's like, wait a minute, how am I going to get up there,
Yeah, very much so. Hanging pictures in a stairwell was what I use them for all the time.
And that's another thing. And so
safely. Folks, safely too. I want to say this is safe. This isn't a rig.
Yeah, this isn't like I don't want. When I looked at it, I was like, how am I going to get up there? It's not going to be like the flying Melendez. I'm not going through that. So,
string a rope up, Johnny. That's the way. Let's go over a couple other things on ladders, right? Do we miss any other ladders?
Yeah, we'd be remiss if we didn't have a couple of do's and don'ts on it, but there's don't stand on top of the ladder. Don't go above the final couple steps on the ladder.
Why? You just talked about the flying Melendez. Come on. You're going to be the flying whatever
right.
if you're not careful. Yeah, and then another one is don't reach up too high or don't reach out too far. So be aware of what your reach is left to right. Folks, get off the ladder and move the ladder if you have to. Don't reach that few. I can get it. Yeah, okay. You can get it right into the emergency room.
The distribution, the weight distribution is centered on these things. Don't get yourself in a bind. And I'll tell you that on an extension ladder, that the most accidents on an extension ladder is not falling off the ladder as much as it is when you extend the ladder and it goes from the 2 steps and you're on top of it. The 2 ladders are together.
Yep.
And then you put your foot back onto the 1 step coming back down. That's when most people just their mind just doesn't adjust to that last step without that other rung next to it. If everybody out there, if you're catching what I'm my drift here, if you imagine that extension ladder being extended, that's when all the accidents happen right there.
Yeah, you lose your footing. You
lose your footing. That's exactly right.
So it doesn't mean that you necessarily fall, but I'll tell you, I've done it. I was wet one day, and my foot actually slipped off, and I smacked the daylights out of my leg. Now, fortunately, I had both hands on the ladder at the top side, so I didn't go all the way down. But it really hurt. I'll tell you, it hurt like a lot.
Oh yeah.
And, so that's part of it. And I'm sure you could go all the way down if you didn't have a firm handhold. I happen to be lucky.
That day. All these things we're talking about here is that this is why I don't go up, above 2 stories. And then the other thing I would say is just to get to know how to properly position a ladder if you're going to use an extension ladder against like a gutter, and get the right angle of the ladder up against that gutter.
And I would tell you, if you're going to lean a ladder on a gutter, make sure you are liable for the gutter.
If it's your own gutter, then it's your own gutter. But yeah, if you're somebody, that's a whole nother thing. Just be real careful on how you do that, and you can look up the kind of the rule of thumb of what the angle is on depending upon the height and so on and so forth. But other than that, kind of in summary is that if you buy a good ladder, you're not doing some kind of high wire axe on it. They're safe. They're safe,
and they will last a really long time.
Yes. Yep.
Like one of the reasons we mentioned that multi-ladders are kind of noob is because to us, my extension ladder, I think it was made in the 80s. I'm pretty sure I bought that in the 80s.
I think I did too, and it's a Keller, and I don't think Keller. There's made it. Warner bought Keller.
Yeah, I don't remember what brand mine is, but I've had that ladder forever. Forever. Yeah. And I can't even get myself to throw it out. I don't even use it much anymore because my multi-ladder actually goes higher than my extension ladder. But I just can't. I don't know. I just can't force myself to get rid of it because it's kind of like. Yep. It's like getting rid of my child, It's like, it's my baby. I've had it forever.
You could melt that thing down and probably make a lot of beer cans out of it.
Yeah, it's probably worth. It actually is probably worth more as scrap value than it is as a ladder. So, anyway, So John, the other day I actually had my extension ladder out. You know why I had it out? That damn spaceship landed in the yard, so they had the hatch open. It was on the top. I crawled up there. John, you were with me, buddy. Did we get in there? Did we take that bad thing apart?
You better believe it. And you know what we found? It's made of a material. Did you know that?
So you're going to tell me about
a new material called Nitno. You guys can look that up. Nitno.
Yeah. And it even
takes... It's a FOIA request.
It
was a FOIA request. I'm not kidding you. It's out there. It's out there. These things are made of some kind of wild metal now.
Yeah.
They've admitted it. Anyways.
I'm sure they have. Folks, with that... your questions, comments, and concerns. We'd like to hear about nitinol from your research out there. Send us an email, questions@handymanprosradioshow.com, or you can go to our website and leave us a voice message. We are on Facebook. We did mention Facebook earlier at Handyman Pros. Please, folks, post your pictures up there. If you've got a great ladder picture, we would love to see it, because I'm telling you, there's a bunch of people that, in my opinion, take a lot of dangerous activities with ladders. And then we're also on Twitter at Handyman Radio. We want to thank you for listening. We will see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.